Yes. So as I was telling that, we don't need to declare, and we can just indicate this is a list by the square bracket, and these are the individual elements. So this is a list by the name bicycles, and it has got 4 elements, right? And we have also seen how we can access the elements, but using an index. So one thing that is to be noted is that Python is zero index. Okay, so it will start from 0 and it will go up to 3. And there is a special case of the index. If we use -1, then we can access the last state. So this was about accessing. Then we have also seen how to modify it. Again, I will go a little bit fast because we have seen this in the last class, right? So if you want to change this particular element, right, change this particular element by a certain element, the first element essentially, then we can just like the way we used to access array, we can use an index and update it. Okay. And I will again tell you that please execute this, change certain things, right? Change, maybe create a list with your favorite foods, create a list with your favorite sportsman, and favorite books maybe, and then try to add, delete, change, right? So that is essential. And that was about changing the element. Okay, now if you want to add an element and add an element at the last, then you are going to use a function called as append. Okay, so one of the things that is quite different is that, see, this list itself has got some functions attached to it. Okay, and I also told you that in this particular interface, if you want to see that what all things are there, so you can just type the name. Okay, motorcycles, and put a dot and then put tab, and it will take maybe a little bit of time, but will tell you that what are the different functions that are available. Okay, so that is one of the intelligence features of this Jupyter notebook interface. Okay, and if we run this, then this was getting added at the last, this element, right? So this was adding an element at the last. But if you want to add at any position, okay, so then you have another function called as insert. Insert takes 2 parameters, right? So one of the thing is that, see, this is a kind of that object oriented feature, right? So this object has this function. Okay, and this has got 2 parameters, so which position and what value, right? So here this is getting inserted in the first position. All right, now let's look at deleting an element. Okay, so this also we have seen. uh, so essentially, if you have again this list, and you can use a command called as del. So see, there is a fundamental difference, the way you did insert and append, right? So those are functions of the list, right? Functions of a list object. Whereas this is a statement. You see, you don't have the name of the list and then dot and then name of the function. Okay, and but you can also use things like which position to be deleted. So if I create the list and then delete and print, I'll get something like this. Okay, all right. Now there is another function called as pop, which can also be used for removing. Okay, so this is something we have not discussed until yesterday. So this is something is new. Uh, so as the name suggests, right, pop is generally associated with when we talk about stack. And what happens? So whatever is the top item, you can use it, uh, use pop and get that element, retrieve the element, right? So if you compare it with list, so what is the element? What is the last element? It is the last item of the list. So if you do a simple pop on a particular list, you'll get, or you can retrieve the last value. And when we have deleted, it doesn't return a value. So if you want to use that values for something, so let's say you have a list of books. Okay, you have list of books, and so the list has books that can be issued, right? And if a student requests about a book, okay, what will happen is that you will move that from available books to not available books, right? So you need to use this value that you are moving from available books. Okay, so in this scenario, this kind of scenario, you will use this function called as pop. Okay, so now let's go a little bit slow. So you already know this creating list part, and this is how you can comment the code. Okay, so which is very important. Now you see that we have first created the list, like every time, and now we have used a pop method similar to your insert or append method. So this is again a method of the list object. Okay, and if you do pop, it will retrieve this, and I am storing that again in a variable. Again, note that we don't need to declare that variable. And let me print this. Okay, let me run this part of the code. So you see that you had Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki, and then as this pop has happened, the first element is removed, and however, sorry, the last element is removed. However, you can still access that using the variable that we have created. Okay, and this method is overloaded. So if you have some idea about object-oriented programming, you know that we say that a particular method is overloaded if it has, or if it allows to have different kind of signature. Different kind of signature meaning what? Different kind of signature means that it allows different type of parameters to be passed on to the function. All right, so let me run this particular one. Okay, let me pass this particular one. So here what we are doing, we are popping from the first element. Okay, so we are now trying to retrieve Honda. Okay, all right, so this is how you can use pop. And not only that, so you have seen that you can remove by this del statement, you can remove using pop, and you can remove also by the value of the item. Okay, so what you can do is, see here, you can remove by value. So you have this list motorcycle. Just let me extend that. Okay, all right. uh, so uh, what we are going to do is, we are going to uh, remove by the value Ducati. You see, so the element value is required. So if I run it, you see this is problem. Yeah, so now you may want to sort it. Okay, so you don't need to for sorting, you don't need to write a function and all. Again, this is available. Okay, so I don't know why this is coming like this. Click on this, will it come? All right. Okay, so here what we have done is, we have created the list of cards. Okay, and we are just sorting it. So again, sort is a method, you see. Okay, so I can just run it, and you will see that it is alphabetically sorted. Okay, one of the very easy to use as well as useful features, right? The second one is that you can also sort it in the reverse order. Okay, so uh, you can see that Toyota will probably come first in this case. Okay, so you can see that. And sometimes what happens is that in your program, maybe the user wants to see the values in a particular order, but you don't want to change the original set of variables. So this is just for a display purpose. Okay, so like many times in a user interface, you have a down arrow and up arrow kind of button by which you can sort by ascending or descending. Okay, so the actual value doesn't get changed. Okay, the list doesn't get changed, but you can change the way it is displayed. So for that, you have a function. Now see, this is not a function of the list, right? So this is a generic function, and you are applying to the list object. Okay, so this function is sorted, and if I run this, see what happened. So this is my original list, right? BMW, Audi, Toyota, Subaru. And when I have printed sorted cards, see, it has been printed in alphabetical order, the way I wanted. However, when I have printed after that, the original list, you see that there is no change there. Okay. So that is about sorting. Now let's look at the length of the list. Okay. So this is simple. You can actually create a list object and print the length. You can see over here. Okay. So you can see that the length is 4 over here. Okay. So there is one particular like one particular uh, important thing about Python as well as list is a kind of iteration structure, right? So you have an iteration structure for, you have an iteration structure while. Okay. uh, so uh, you can use that, but there is another thing which is important, which is called for each. Okay, so I have not used all of your names, so please, don't get angry or don't feel sad. Okay. So this was just because lack of time. So what I've done is I have created, so this is something pay very close attention to. There is a lot to learn from these 3 lines of code. So you already know how to create a list, so I'm not telling you that. Focus on what we are doing over here. We are saying for student, in students, there is a colon and then print student. Okay, so what we are saying is that for each student in this list of students, print name of individual students. Okay. So let me repeat again. So basically, this student is a string type of variable. Okay, this student is a string type of variable, and this students is the list. So it will run this particular list for as many elements are there, right? For each of the elements that are present here, this loop will run, and it will print the individual element values. Okay. And you have as I said, you have a colon. Also, another important thing is that you see that we have put an indent over here, right? It is somewhat shifted towards the right, and this is not arbitrary. So this is something very very important, characteristics of Python. So here you are not going to use any curly braces or anything. Okay. So for any particular program with the languages that we have seen so far, if I want that for certain conditions, so be it for, be it while, be it like if else, if I want certain coding block to be active or certain coding block to be used, what do? We put it within curly braces, right? So here we don't put curly braces, and what we do instead is we actually just put an indent. Okay. So if I run this code, you see that for each of the name of each student is printed. Okay, like this. All right. And we'll also do some more experiments. So if I, let's say, if I want to, if I shift it like this and try to run. Okay. So you see that it is saying expected and indented block. Okay. And if I want multiple statements, okay, multiple statements to be printed over here, just for fun, let's say I print a string hello after each of the students. Okay. All right. So you see that after each of the name of the student, you have this hello coming up. However, again, probably trivial, but pay attention that if I don't use the indent over here, what will happen? So this will be printed only once after this for each is concluded. You see, hello is now coming only once after name of all the students. Okay. All right. And there is another important function, when we'll probably look a little bit more about string and formatting of string, we'll see. But nevertheless, you have something called as if. Okay. So if actually allows you to create kind of a dynamic string. So what do I mean by dynamic string? So dynamic string means, see, what I want to do is I want to actually say, like, Orko is attending Python class, rather than just printing the name. I want to do that, but I cannot hard code it, right? I cannot go and print Orko is attending Python class, because then for each of the elements, what will happen is it will be printed that Orko is attending the Python class. So what I want is that in this string, okay, in this string, every time I run this code, the name of that particular student is picked up. So this is a string object, and string object has a function called as title, okay, which will give you value of the string, right? So basically, if I do a student dot title like this, then if I do a student dot title like this, then when the loop is executing for the first time, I'll get the student dot title as Orko. When it is being being run for the fourth time, I'll get it as Suchita. Okay. Now let's say I also want to change this. I want to take the subject also as a variable. Okay. So how to do that? So let me write, let me create a variable subject, okay, and let me give it a value like Python. All right. So now see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this particular thing. So see, you have written if. Look at the format very carefully, and it starts with a quote and ends with a quote. Okay, and there are some portions which are in curly braces. So what that tells is, so this is the dynamic part where you can use a variable. So now what we're going to do is we are going to simply use the variable over here. So I am going to use the variable subject. And now if I run this, so you see that it is picking from this subject. And if another sir wants to use it and say he wants to use it for BBMS, so what it needs to do is just change the subject and it will get changed. Okay, so the idea is you can use this format like if and then a double quotes. So and there you can have variable names, okay, variable names represented by the curly braces. Okay, all right. We can create a list with numbers, and here we are going to use another important function called as range. Okay, so see what it does. Uh, there is something called as in over here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, so let me not first do like this. Let's say I create a variable a and I say this is range 1 to 5. Let's understand this range object a little bit. Okay, which we'll use to create the list. So if I do that, and let's say I also need to print this, because otherwise you'll not understand. Yeah, so let me print this. Okay, so it is not showing me the value because I will have to iterate. Okay, but it is creating a range which start from a and goes up to the value 5, not including 5. So it will go like 1 2 3 4. Okay, so if I run this now, okay, if I run this now, see what is happening. So we have 1 2 3 4, right? And it has several parameters. So let's say I have given you the task to create a list with even numbers less than 25. Okay, so actually this range has got 3 parameters. Not all of them are needed, not all of them are compulsory. So the third parameter over here, you can understand that this is the starting value, this is the ending value, and it will not go up to the ending value, but it will go up to ending value -1. And this is your step size. Okay, so it will go like 2 4 6 like this, so I can get the even numbers. Okay, so if I just run this part, you see it is going like 2 4 6 8 10 like this. Okay, now if I ask you to create a list which contains square of 5 odd numbers, how do we do that? Okay, so this is an exercise. So first of all, what we are going to need is we are going to need a we are probably going to need a empty list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write square equal to this. Okay. Uh, so this is creating an empty list. Now let's say I want to create those particular 5 odd numbers. So for that, what I can do is I can go like uh, for value in, okay, range. I'll start from 1, okay, and probably 1 3 5 7 9. So I will say that the ending is 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to append. Okay, append where? I'm going to append in this particular list, right? Square dot append. Okay, and I want square value. So what I'll have to do is I will have to use this exponent operator, which is double star. Okay, and finally, uh, I will, once this is done, I'll print my list, something of that sort. And I forgot the colon. I think I have not missed any other syntax. Let's see. No, there is some error. Okay. Square is not defined. I think I must have made some spelling mistake. Okay. First, let me just.
স্যার প্রিন্টের আন্ডারে স্কোয়ার স্পেলিংটা ভুল লিখেছিলেন আর কিছু
Okay. This can be it. Yeah. So let me run this. So you see that the square of the integers are run. Thanks all. Okay. So you can create a, like, you can understand that this would have been a very different program if you would have done using C. uh, this interpreted mode is quite programmer friendly, and you have the option of running some part of the code, right? Which makes it finding the errors or debugging very easy. Okay, so you can create also list with numbers. So these are all already list with numbers, but we can see that if we create something like digits which has all these numbers, and I can apply functions like mean, max, sum. Okay, so I can run this, and I see that. Okay, so why why it came as 45, because I have not used a print statement. Okay, so if I use this in print, then you get all the values. Otherwise, if you just use that, then whatever is last, okay, so that will be displayed. Okay, so let me enclose this with print. Yeah. So you see these are printed. Okay, I think now, yeah. So now let's say we want to slice a list. So what do you mean by slicing a list? So I mean by slicing a list is I want to take a portion of the list. Okay, not the entire part. Okay, so for that, what I can do is I can do, let's say I want to create a list with first 3 students. So what I can do is I can write create a new list. Let's say students 1. Okay, and I can write like students. Okay, and then I can give like colon 3. So that means that it will start and then it will go up to the third element. Okay, so it is like maybe let me print and show you also. Okay, so you see that first 3 are created. So again, uh, one of the things that you need to understand is that it is exclusive of the third index. So when I am telling 3, it is actually taking index 0, index 1, index 2. So I'll have to go plus 1. Okay, so this is one thing that is there with many of the Python function syntaxes. So watch out for that. Okay, and let's say I want to create, or I want to look at the last 3. Okay, so if I want to look at the last 3, then which position I will have to start from? So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is actually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I will have to start from 4. So if I go here, so let me copy this whole thing, okay, and let me just say this is students 2. Hardly matters though, but let me anyway say students 2. And now what we are going to do is I'm going to say that I'm going to print from 4 and then up to all the elements. So if I now just run this particular code, you see the last 3 are printed. Okay, and so these are like two extreme cases, and you might want to look at maybe the third one. So let's say up to Devapom to Tiash. So if I take Devapom, so it will start like 0, 1, 2. So my starting point will be 2. Okay, and then I am going to go up to Tiasha. So it is third, fourth. But if I give 4 over here in this position, then it will only print these two. So I'll have to go and count this one. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Uh, so if I give 5 over here, then I'll get the middle values. Okay. So, this is what I wanted to discuss as far as list is concerned. Okay, and now if you have any questions, we can take that.